bitch still capping with Dan, bro.
Where do we think Angel should go? Do we think just in general all infantry officers should be D tier, or do we want to go a little in depth of like out of all the infantry officers, maybe Angel's not the worst, so she would go C, or like what's everybody's thoughts on this?
I think she would be a B tier.
You think she's a B?
Yeah, if you take an account for somebody who deals with infantry, then she would be like a B tier. Because mainly she's the only one that does get healed.
So
C is because of her tanking super heavies, but that's it.
Right. She's been known to also with her and Bastion on base tanking, right?
So, if I were to label the 3 infantry officers, I would say White Wolf is the best for damage. I would say Angel is the best for defense, and then Bastion is a good middle ground for both. But personally, if I'm making an infantry unit, I'm not really caring about doing a full focus defense. I'd rather go damage or a mix of both. So personally, I would say she's D tier, but being that she is semi-useful on like a heavy or a super heavy, I would bump her to C, but I still think the other 2 are higher. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I guess, do we want her C or B tier?
I would probably say C, honestly.
Yes, C.
Okay. So since we're on infantry officers, let's go ahead and stick with it. Do we think White Wolf is also C, being that she's just the opposite version of Angel? Because she doesn't also have the versatility like Angel does. She's really only good for infantry, minus her damage boost.
Well, she's all skilled. So basically, she's what they call a nuker in infantry. She's all skilled.
So do we want her on the same tier?
You might as well put her on the same tier.
Yeah, I would put her on C.
Well, that being said, then, do we think Bastion is a B tier over both of them?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe so too. He's definitely one of the better.
You're talking about somebody who does 1,300 damage plus 50% more additional damage.
Mm-hmm. Plus all his defensive buffs too. I definitely think he's better than both of them. So I agree on the B tier.
Well, he's more offensive than he is defensive because his last tier is firepower bonus of 30% with additional firepower of 10%. So he's really nuking.
How do we feel about Chev? S tier, right?
Yeah.
100%.
That extra grid range just does it for me. I think she's going to be one of the few that we actually put at S tier. Most would probably go A, B tier.
The skill for Chev as well deals massive damage.
All right, so what about El Cartero? What are we thinking in terms of being a bomber pilot?
I would say he's S tier.
You think he's an S tier?
Yeah, because he can get you a lot of kills with his ability. He's definitely, if you have a bomber, you want him.
I'll agree that he's S tier purely because he can work on both, or he can work on any of the 3 bombers, and his stun ability I think classifies as S tier. Normally, if he didn't have the stun, I'd put him A, but I agree on the S tier. Any objections?
No, I agree.
All right, what about death? We thinking A?
B tier.
Yeah, because his pen's good.
So
he's basically free to play Guardian of Truth.
I would agree on that. I'm kind of stuck between A and B purely because he's not an officer that's restricted to a specific unit. However, he's versatile in what he's good at. So he can be used on an ATG, for instance, but he can also be good on like an MBT or a tank hunter / helo. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of stuck in between too.
yeah, I'm stuck in
Well,
between. But
he can be used on any tank. Honestly, you could put him and Bloody Mary on a white tank.
so are we thinking he's A tier then, since he's so versatile?
I would still put him in a B rank because I mean he only gives like 10, 50 damage.
Okay, I'll go for B for now. That's fine for me. What about this is Eagle? Do we think she A tier as a versatile fighter pilot, or were we thinking B tier? Because she's got all that crit damage, right? But she's not good
she's
by
S.
herself.
She
You
can
think
go
she's
on
S
bombers
tier?
and fighters. Yeah, bombers
I don't
and
think
fighters,
she's
she
S.
can go on.
Yeah,
I would say A.
No.
Even though she's versatile for both bombers and fighters, I don't think she brings anything necessarily special, which is why I'm sitting at the A tier. I don't think she's B tier, but
I think
don't know.
A tier is fair because she's definitely somebody you would want on a fighter.
Yeah, she's a secondary officer.
Yeah, she can't.
And usually,
if she was good
your
by
S
herself,
tier,
yeah,
usually S tier being the top tier would be something that would be like a majority primary officer.
I agree. So, cool.
Yeah,
on A tier,
I'm
then?
cool with A tier. I think that's fair.
All right, where are we thinking Eruptor falls? Somewhere
Solid
between A and B.
I personally would say A.
Definitely A.
I would say
Yeah.
Okay.
His blast radius increase, I think, is a pretty big advantage. In addition to him speeding up the reload speeds up 10%.
That's fair.
And
As
his
well
damage
as
to bases.
his damage to fortifications
Yeah,
for base moving. He's a base mover.
I agree. I'm cool with A. What about Glory? We thinking A tier? As
See,
a
I don't-
fighter officer.
I'm not impressed with Glory. However, I don't know if I have experience playing much without him. I'm just starting to play with Heaven Savior as my lead, but I still have Glory as my secondary. He's versatile. His skills aren't tied to being the lead officer.
The way I see
A tier.
Glory is compared to the other fighter plane officers, I'd say he's geared towards damage, like more than anything. So he's great if you're putting him on a fighter for that purpose. And
You don't want to
if
put
you're-
him on one to tank.
Oh no, absolutely not. But I don't think he's the worst fighter pilot. So, or fighter officer rather. So he's not good enough to be S tier, but he's not bad enough to be B tier in comparison to some of the other Air Force officers. But he doesn't have anything like special about him that really makes him outshine anything. But he's still really good.
His tactical skill does stack 5 times.
Yeah, you're getting a 15% firepower boost for 20 seconds up to 5 times. That's crazy damage if you live long enough to do it. Not to mention, he's got a 15% damage firepower buff and then a 30% firepower buff for fighter planes on top of that. So he's really good for damage. There's nothing special about him to make me want to go higher, but he's definitely lower.
I think A tier is fair for him.
A.
What about Guardian? Since he's pay to play, are we gonna take that into account, or do we just want to say?
I mean, he's worth
He's an
it.
officer in the game, regardless of whether or not you have to pay to get him or not. I think we have to rate him.
Fair.
I mean, yeah, and I definitely think he's one of the better ones.
I do too. He's all damage focused. Hold on.
And I mean, he can be versatile, I guess. He goes on tanks and helos, but I guess you could throw him on an ATG as well.
That being said, I think he's the best tank officer in the game. Like,
Mhm.
if you're not looking at like steel spanner in terms of like super heavy defense and stuff, if you're looking just versatility, damage, etc., I think he's the best and the strongest for sure. So I'm kind of bouncing
I,
between S and A tier for the versatility and the overall strength.
I would
but-
probably put him S tier, honestly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah, until you come out with something, until they come out with another officer that can overstep what he can do, I think is a good way to put him to S tier for now.
He's just phenomenal all around. It doesn't have to be the lead officer for all of his skills to work. His tactical skills specifically.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing special, but increasing a damage by 25% is significant, and increases the damage resist by 10%. It's his passive skill once awakened. So, I mean, he's a great officer to have on any tank because he's going to do good all around.
I agree. So Huntsman, I'm thinking S tier specifically
Huntsman.
for his
Definitely
stun
S.
ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, S.
Yeah.
He's honestly, I would arguably trade him between Guardian. Like, I'd say they're equals. He's more versatile and stronger overall, but his special ability, I would say, makes him online. But
Yeah, Huntsman is extremely good.
Also remember, he does do something that Guardian doesn't, and that's give you the recovery.
yeah, he's got the
And maybe I'm
1% recovery, and then the
rethinking my Guardian vote.
double.
Maybe Guardian should be A tier. He might
You
be
think?
the definition of A tier. In fact, like, not really. You can live without him, but at the same time,
Like the
nice
best
to
of
have.
the best, minus
Yeah.
all the specials.
yeah,
I'm okay with him being A tier.
Yeah, because I think
Maybe you
that
put it that way, yeah. I think that
Yeah.
does make sense.
Guardian
can
doesn't
live
have
without
like a
him.
one thing ability like Cartera. Like the three commonalities, like they all bring something very unique to the gameplay.
True.
Adding a hex, immobilization.
All right. How we feeling about Mary? I'm hovering around B to A tier.
No, her
Bloody
special ability and the flash bomb are amazing on lights or rockets.
Well, she also adds speed, which
That
is
is
why
true.
I would
And
say she would
speed
be
on
A
top of
rather
that.
than B.
Maybe A
It
tier
extends
then?
the prep time of their officer skill and prevents them shooting for a second or two.
I think she's really good. I don't think she's S tier or close to it, but
Mhm.
I'm okay with having her in A. I think she's extremely versatile. You can put her on anything, and she can be good.
She's very useful to have.
Yeah, you can use her with if you want a whole lot of speed. You put her with Adder, but you could also put her with secondary to Winter Huntsman, and that's what a lot of guys did with the light tanks.
Mm-hmm. She's really good on lights. But like,
Yeah.
even if you had better officers, like say you wanted to throw fucking Guardian and Huntsman on a light, because that's, for instance, your only tank aside from a super heavy, she would still be useful on like an ATG or even an Arty if you absolutely needed to. So I'm cool with A if everybody else does.
Yeah, I definitely don't think she's S tier, but I do think she's above B. So, yeah, I'm cool with that.
How are we feeling about Percy? I don't think she's
She's not S tier.
I don't think she's S tier, and I'm kind of between B and A.
I'm
because-
more for B, honestly.
I would go.
She's
A.
pretty mid,
Honestly.
bro. She's pretty mid.
She's
I would
more
go A.
support.
She is
She
definitely
is.
support.
She is,
Because-
but remember, she also gives 2 grids. Within 2 grids, she does give them a boost, 8% firepower boost.
But so does Steel. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
it's
Like
Tiff.
we've got two.
Tiff that does that, right?
No, that's Spear.
two-
Spear
Yeah,
does.
Tiff with the spear. Because
But he only gets a 7%.
I would say Spear and Percy are the same, but Spear is
No.
for field and Percy is for base.
Percy also does the boost of firepower for double the time that Spear does.
So are we thinking she... I mean, I think Spear is better than Percy.
Yeah,
So
I think
put...
Spear does more as a whole.
If we were to put Percy in A tier, that means we'd have to argue that Spear is S tier, and
Which
I
I
don't know
don't
if
think
Spear
he
is
is.
quite S tier. So I'd
Honestly,
be more comfortable with Percy at B.
The way I see it is Percy would be B tier, and then Spear would be A tier.
That's
So
what I
that's
was
just
thinking.
that's the way I see it.
Because she's good, don't get me wrong, but she's way more useful on like a fucking howitzer or an ATG just sitting in your base for that 30% firepower boost. And then Spear would be better in the field on something.
Well, also remember with Spear, he gives you a reduce of 1.5 seconds on the prep time.
That's only when he's leading, though.
Yeah. When serving as its leader reduces the prep time of their troops' skill by 1.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And that can make a difference.
I would
It does.
say Percy would be B tier for me.
Yeah, and then Spear A.
Yeah.
I think Spear's
just
A. I think that we've ranked Bloody Mary too high.
You think Mary's not an A?
Yeah, because her damage coefficient is only 1050 when maxed. That's not really. That's not top tier.
Right.
That's not even A tier.
But if we're looking at her across the board, she's got her special skill that stops enemy officers from using their ability. She's got a speed boost, a damage boost, and she can recover health. And she's versatile enough to be on any type of unit. It doesn't matter what kind.
True.
Unit.
Versatility is key.
The enemy shooting for 2 seconds or 1 second rather.
If she wasn't as versatile, I would 100% agree as a B tier. But because she can be used anywhere at any time, I think that's A tier.
Yeah. Okay.
What about Phantom? This is the most recent fighter pilot officer.
Don't have a perspective. My one Air Force officer I've not.
Yeah, I don't know
like
much about him.
The bombers.
His abilities, I'll just read them off now since most probably won't know much about him. His first skill, Wind Awakened, says when this officer's fighter plane troop is attacked, it has a 50% chance to gain a stack of the grid effect, increasing damage by 10% for 4 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. After reaching the 5th stack, triggering the skill again will deal damage up to 3 enemy Air Force troops within range. Doing damage of a coefficient of 600 can be triggered once every 5 seconds. And then he has a 25% damage buff, but reduces damage to bombers. He's got a patrol speed buff when not in combat, and then a durability buff. Are we thinking B or A? I mean, nothing sounds S tier to me.
I mean, definitely A.
You think A?
I think he's good for A.
I do know he's one of the better fighter officers from a lot of the people I know that do have him.
If you've ever fought fighters that have this fighter as an officer that's pretty well maxed, you'll know. Because it'll do insane things. In my opinion, I think he's an S. He is the top fighter officer in my mind because of his ability to kill other fighters. He will make the difference between, the 2 11 mil fighters go at each other and one comes out without losing a single unit and the other one comes out completely destroyed.
I mean, if any fighter officer were to be an S, it would probably be him. Like, I definitely agree with that. I don't know.
His stack of grit is like something that the game even denotes by putting a number next to the officer's head, and they're EFB, I guess, for lack of a better word. Yeah.
I think the argument could be made for him to be S tier.
I don't know. I mean,
I
his
don't know.
he can
I
increase
mean-
damage up to a lot, but I've only fought against him. That's my only reference point. Unfortunately, I don't have him.
Yeah, just to be safe, I would still say A, but I definitely think he is the best fighter officer.
We'll go with A, and if we
Not the best against bombers though, because
come back,
damage.
Yeah, but again, I mean the best fighter versus fighter.
Yeah.
Like
we
dogfight.
can come back to him if we decide otherwise. What about Saber? We think an S tier?
I believe S though.
Yeah, he's S.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
I
Dog.
No
I think it's
question.
safe to say.
Yeah,
No question. He's S.
The things that officer can do. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's
he's
ridiculous.
44 mag,
As
bro. It's just not a
Max
joke.
with Chev, you put him with Chev. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is a lethal combo right here. Like
Yeah.
best RD combo in the game by far. But it's so expensive to get him.
Yeah. But he's definitely
Still so good.
he's S tier.
All right, what about Heaven's Savior? Are we thinking? I'm between S and A, but
I don't know too much about
I'm
him.
thinking A. So he's extremely good. If you're pairing him with bombers, so like he will boost the bomber's ability near him. So he's a very good
15%.
support fighter pilot.
he's a bomber fighter pilot. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what he is. I have Heaven Savior at 4.333 right now. I'm still working on him. He's level 55, but even at that level, his ability to draw fire, fantastic, and he's a great pair up with The Witcher,
I agree. I was gonna
who I'm
mention
also
that.
working on. And if you bomb a lot of bases, you know that you get a whole lot more damage when your bomber's not getting shot. Stability's better. The bombs hit where they're supposed to go. I don't know what the mechanics behind it are, but that is what I've experienced from my gameplay. And if you like to send a fighter to tank, take the base's AA fire, Heaven Savior's perfect for it. And you're right, he does. It buffs the bombers too. He'll buff their firepower, and any unit within 5 map grids. So he's kind of a sleeper, I think. I think he's A tier, but there's a lot of I don't know. He doesn't add much more other than that, I guess. So I think he's definitely A tier. I was leaning towards B, but I think that he's as far as your fighter officer pilots, he's one to go for if you like to bomb people.
I am actually going to argue that he's S tier specifically because he's a good fighter pilot officer by himself, but he's the only fighter officer that legitimately can support your bombers as well. Does that make sense?
I
Is
agree.
that too much of a stretch to
Nah,
consider him special?
I could see it. I can see it.
Because he's the
Tactical
only
skill.
one that is theoretically helping both types of planes and isn't labeled, just versatile like I don't know Eagle would be, where she's just
Tactical
crit damage.
skills has 2 effects too, which I think is in and of itself a special ability. Most of
because
them only have
not
one.
many get 2 bonuses per 1 skill. Yeah, are we cool with S tier or because I'm fine with either one, but I'm leaning more towards S tier just because
I definitely
he
see
supports
the
both.
argument for S here.
Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah.
All right, what about Spanner? A or S?
A.
A. Yeah, I'd say A.
I'm agreeing with A purely because we have Steel Fighter, and I think in comparison, Steel Fighter is better than Spanner, obviously, based on the tests we've recently done. If you had asked me early game, I definitely would have put him S tier, but after his nerf and then all these new officers, I think A's probably the highest we can go.
Yeah, I agree.
Anybody fighting me on S tier Steel Fighter?
No.
No argument? All right. How do we feel about Witcher? B tier? A tier? I mean,
A or B.
A tier.
She's not going to do much for you on her own.
That's why I'm sitting at B. Because even if she wasn't the first one I did, she wouldn't even be the second one that I would focus. She would be my third or fourth on like my second fighter.
That's where I'm standing too. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
I would.
she wouldn't be one to focus with unless you had Savior first.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the one thing she has: the shield coefficient. It
Yeah,
doesn't last very long, and maybe that's because my Witcher's super low tier. But like, even though she's 46 and 3s across the board, I still throw her on a fighter to tank with Heaven Savior. Even though my Wings of Glory is a much higher level, and those officer abilities are all 3s as well. So that's basically like every officer I have, except for Phantom, but on the air side.
While
Yeah,
I
she's-
agree. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
She pops that extra health bar up. If it lasted longer, like Steel Fighters, then it would be a game changer.
I agree that she's good in her own right, especially
Definitely.
if you're pairing her with Savior and you're sending her in there as like a decoy. She works great at that. Like Russian fighter, those two together, solid setup. That being said, though, she's not good by herself. She requires all of that other stuff combined for her to be useful, or more useful rather. For you to truly see her potential, you need so many other variables to be completed before you can see her true potential, which is why I'm swaying away from A tier as a solid B tier.
Yeah, I'm more
agree
for
with
B
B.
tier on her.
Because
I definitely
it's like
B or
it's
D
like
tier.
Percy and Adder. They're all good,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not good
Game
enough.
changers.
Yeah. What about War Machine? How are we feeling about War Machine?
I think he's a B tier.
B tier, really?
I
Yeah.
was gonna go A. I
Yeah.
don't think he's S tier.
I would. I'm kind of in between A and B, but the thing about him is like, I would put him A tier for his ability, his maxed ability, because it is really
speed
useful. You
boost.
can put him on a light, you can put him on an arty,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll do a lot of damage. He'll kill stuff.
I
but
think based off
I don't
that
know.
versatility, he's A tier.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he does 1,300. He does 1,300 damage.
You got the
That's true, the
10%
versatility.
load speed, the damage. Then you've got true firepower bonus twice. Actually, you've got the 20%, and then you've got the damage bonus for 15. So
Yeah, I'd say A tier. Because you're right, the versatility, yeah, it would make sense.
all right, how are we feeling about what's her name? Pixie? Yeah, Pixie. How are we feeling about Pixie as a officer?
I mean, I like Pixie. I think if you're running a bomber, you definitely need Pixie with
A
Cartero.
tier.
Yeah, I would say A tier. I think Pixie's pretty good.
Yeah, I think she's
Yeah.
definitely a must for your first bomber setup for sure.
Yeah, because she goes well with Cartero.
I'm kind of going back to my Wings of Glory. Like I don't know if I said this about Wings of Glory or not, but I think that the main thing with me with Pixie is like I don't know anything else without her. So I don't know if I have a frame of reference of a bomber without Pixie.
So
Yeah, I mean that's kind of me as well to an extent, but I do think she is pretty good.
Between her and Cartero, I don't know which one's more important, but I do like the fact that she gives an extra run at the end.
I think
Yeah, that's-
Cartero is more important than Pixie.
I do too.
Yeah,
think
And
I think
both
it
the
depends.
mobilization
More
and the
important.
fire.
But
I think
Pixie gives you a reduced timing on bombing, but she also does give you some buff as far as firepower bonus and damage. But I mean, honestly, Katera really is the one that lays down the bomb. And her ability alone gives you a quicker time of getting there, and stability, but she gives you one extra. So now I would say she'd be A.
I'm cool with her at A. I think so you've got Pixie, I think could work on either style of bombers, whether you're bombing bases or bombing troops. I think she's good for both.
Yeah.
So you could pair her with Eagle, or you could pair her with Cartero, and she would work just fine. But I don't think she's less or higher. But being that is our last one, looking at the overall list, do we see anything that's out of place? Maybe. Because I mean, I noticed we didn't put anybody at D tier. So I mean,
Yeah,
all
I
of
think
them
we
are
should
viable.
go over this again. I would like
Well,
to see
I mean,
how if we
nothing.
could edit now, I would change where we put a few of them.
I
I
mean,
think Pixie is
To be honest, you don't need to put anything at D tier because all these
no.
officers, they do their
supposed to be
thing.
good.
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
in
all
their own
viable
right,
in
yeah.
different situations. Just some are better than others, and a lot of them are really good.
Oh, given the context of the current meta, our most recent level 4, San Francisco, how would you rate these as combat worthiness? Today's meta.
In today's meta, none of the infantry officers are being used.
Drop
right?
them all down to D.
Like all these guys are not being used.
So
Yeah,
maybe
at least
we
very
just
rarely.
take a look at this with a little bit more of like a scope of reality and pessimism now.
So we originally ranked this based off of usefulness in their own right, but if we're going like what is good and what's not good just in general in the meta, it would probably look something more like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then would we drop any of these? Probably not, right? Maybe
I
Phantom.
would drop him. Yep.
And then maybe Mary, Glory.
Brisk Eagle.
I wouldn't drop Phantom.
You don't think so? Well, because like the way I see it, he's so new, so few people are even getting the ability to use him, let alone having him max. It's more of a whale thing, and even then, you're seeing more of like.
I mean, but not necessarily though. I've seen there's a lot of our smaller guys that have him. He's good fighter versus fighter.
So
Like,
you
hands
think he's
down,
still
he's
A
good.
tier?
Yeah, like if you're using your fighter to fight other fighters, not tank for your bomber, you want him on there.
So you could probably put Eruptor on a B.
On B, I was thinking Erupted as well.
Yeah.
Are we seeing anything else? I mean, maybe Spear down there with Percy, but
Spear's great just because he's
I still think Spear would be above Percy.
to feel
Okay.
Percy.
so are we liking how this looks then?
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
we'll say, who out of S tier do we think is the best?
I think we could
thinking-
probably move Heaven's Savior down 1.
Where's he at? Where am I?
He's right under our
Above War Machine.
Interrupter.
Yo, I am tripping.
Right there.
Yeah,
Up.
straight up.
Oh, there he is.
Looks like he's wearing a
Fucking
Lakers jersey.
Big bodied. So we think A tier then?
Yeah.
All right. How we feeling about this as overall? Are we liking what we're looking at?
I think it's fair. I definitely think it's a fair representation.
I think as an overall meta and usefulness across the board, based off of everything we've talked about, I think this is pretty accurate. Just about as close as we're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
Best players out there have got the ones in S&A.
yeah. If you're not running these, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, appreciate all you guys coming to help me out, giving your thoughts
Yeah, man.
and your input. It's much
Absolutely.
appreciated.